right, here we go. We are off to the races. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's so weird that it's 2025, halfway through it, through January.
Well, last week was a month, so it has to be at least February right now, right?
It is nice, though, Kimberly, to be able to know what day of the week it is. There were about 2 weeks where I just quit
I had
trying.
no clue. The Friday after New Year's Day was the Tuesdayest Friday I've ever had in my life.
It was crazy how we went from like it would be a Friday, and then I swear it was like Wednesday, and then it was Saturday. Yeah, I'm just glad to be able to be back on the 7 day rotation again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have the chat fired up. So give us a shout. Let us know how things are going in your neck of the woods, wherever you are. Give David a happy birthday. Yesterday was his birthday, so he's aging in reverse now, is what's happening. So
29. I'm 29 again. Thank you for
yeah,
asking.
Mr. Benjamin Buttons himself, right here, live and in person.
That's right. That's right. That's right. 53. I'm proud of it. 53 years old. My dad used to say that, being over you can be over the hill, but that's better than being in the hill. So I'm gonna take it.
I agree with that 100%. I figure every day that my feet hit the floor is a good day, right?
You're winning. I mean, the whole point of this thing is to keep having birthdays.
So yes, age with pride. Well, I just tell everybody I'm 65 years old, and then they say, "Oh my gosh,
You look so
thing."
good. I
So
love that, Kimberly. Oh, yeah, yeah. Tell them you're 20 years older than you are. And then they're like,
the
oh my,
fact that they believe me when I say I'm 65 I got a sting,
a little hurtful. Yeah.
a little
Like
hurtful.
maybe that wasn't a good idea to tell people I'm 20 years older than I am. Love it.
So yeah, I just tell them I'm like, yeah, I'm 65. So
Yeah. Well, I thought, yeah, that's when it's like, oh, yeah, I figured you were in your mid 60s. Like, oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Yeah.
like, ow.
Love it. Love it.
Stuff happens. Well, I'm seeing some people from way up in Rochester. Howdy, Rochester peeps. So I hope you guys are not too frozen today. Tomorrow I'm headed up to Wisconsin. They're going to have a relative heat wave though. It's going to be 20 degrees tomorrow.
Wow.
So, which is much better than yesterday when it was -5.
Yeah.
So I'll
That,
I'll take 20 degrees over -5 all day, any day. So
Yeah, I went to Minneapolis last week. So I was 3 days in Minneapolis, came back to Atlanta, and it didn't snow in Minneapolis, so there was snow on the ground, but it snowed when I got back to Atlanta. So I may go back to Minneapolis. It's
if
crazy.
it was warmer well, that's where I typically fly in when I go to this client, but I'm actually flying into the little regional airport because, when I book the tickets, there's no way of predicting, are they going to have a blizzard at that time?
Right,
So, yeah.
right.
So, and of course, we have Beth. I see Beth chiming in already on the chat here. So, she's always has interesting weather. I don't care what time of year it is in Wyoming, they always have crazy weather there.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, well, we want to hear from you guys, and we've got a fun topic for you today. It is always an interesting time when we have Mr. David Hagan in the house. So,
Mm.
so buckle up. We're going to have some fun today, and hopefully help you kick off your new year just right. Our topic today is one of my favorites. And are you curious enough? And I'm just going to go ahead. Spoiler alert. No, you're probably not. So we're going to talk to you about some ways that you can be more curious,
Yeah.
and the dialogue that goes on in our heads is just between our ears. So that's going to be a big old
All
myth
right.
buster for us today, right,
Yeah.
David?
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you started, with a spoiler alert. Like, that's good. Like, just go ahead and bust us out.
It is just to get it out there. Yeah. So
Bam. Yeah.
yeah. So but we'll tell you the hows and the whys behind it for sure. So you didn't just get the whole thing. Don't tune out yet. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. Right, right. Yeah, you see what she did? Kimberly's a pro. She whetted our appetite. WHET, wet. She
Wetted. Yes.
whetted our appetite.
There we go. All right.
The teaser.
Quick housekeeping for any of you who don't know who I am. So, hi, I'm Kimberly, Mackey, and my company is New Home Solutions Consulting. My uncle asked me over the holidays. He's like, Kimberly, I went to your website and I see you on socials, and what do you do? And I'm like, well, there you go, Uncle Jack. That's the $1 million question. What do I do? So, I work with builders of all sizes around the country, and I work with them in a myriad of ways. The bulk of what I do is consulting. So I actually help builders make sure their sales processes and procedures support their sales goals so that they have profitable, consistent, and here's the kicker, predictable sales.
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest thing where I spend most of my time. But if you're a builder who just wants a training program, or you want to, get your sales team kicked off with a 3-day, the complete sales professional program, I do those things too. So one of the builder that I'm going to see, he actually reached out to me. He said, we're going to have our very first annual meeting, and we want a speaker to help run the meeting and kick that off. Who do you know who can do that? And I went, besides me? What? What do you mean?
What?
I'm like, I'm happy to refer you to somebody else if you're not happy with me, but I think our 4-year relationship probably speaks
Yeah.
for itself.
What's wrong with me? Yeah,
Yeah, and
love
they're like, but we think of you more
it.
behind, doing all the stuff behind the scenes and making sure we're successful. We forget you do these
Yeah,
things. So,
love
what
it.
do I do? There's the question. I don't know if I can answer it any better, but if you have questions about that, reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a free 1 hour and just, point you in the right. And if it's not something I do, I'll point you to somebody else. So, happy to get your introductions. It's a small industry, and I do believe I have connections for just about everything,
And Kimberly, I didn't
including
tell you
my
this.
friend David.
I didn't tell you this, but I was talking to a sales leader yesterday in the Atlanta area. So I was on site with him and their office, and he knows you and and you did some work with him in a previous company, and he just was singing your praises. And so, in all sincerity, I want you to know, just yesterday, so literally just
That's
yesterday,
good to know.
was with a sales leader, a new home sales leader, and just was talking about how much you help them and help kind of get some things pointed in the right direction. And so, yeah,
So, well,
we
that's
are grateful for you in our industry, Kimberly Mackey.
it's a weird little, like, nobody else really does some of these things. So I guess it's nice, right? But yeah. So my goal is to teach others how to do it. So David, go ahead. Let's hear about you and Sales Uncomplicated, which I think is probably the most apropos name of a company ever.
I don't know what that means, apropos, but I'm going to take it as a compliment.
It is, yes. It's like boom, yes.
Thank you. I started my company almost 3 years ago. So February the 1st, 2022, I started my company after about 15 years of sales leadership in the new home industry, and gosh, probably 25 years in sales leadership. I didn't want to be sales simple. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and in the South, simple is not a compliment. My
Bless
wife,
your heart.
when she
Bless
was,
your heart.
bless your heart's another. My girl, when Rebecca was my girlfriend 35 years ago, I can imagine her dad saying something about that Hagan boy. He's real simple, ain't he? So it's not simple. Wasn't good, and easy. I didn't want easy because I don't. There's no easy way. Like sometimes
Nope.
people are looking for a book or a seminar, for the silver bullet. And so uncomplicated to me fit perfectly because I think sometimes we make things too complicated, and there's enough in the home building industry that gets complicated. My goal, like you, is to go in and help a home building company, make their sales effort uncomplicated. I even see it as a verb. Like I like to go in and help uncomplicate things, and so we use sales process, sales training, sales consulting to really get to the root of what the problem is and come up with a solution that's uncomplicated. One thing I know about sales training: if you give salespeople, new home salespeople, or really any salespeople, if you give them something that's too complicated, too hard, use whatever nomenclature you want, they're not going to use it. And then it doesn't matter how great or effective it is in theory if the salespeople won't use it. And so, like you, I love the home building industry, and am just honored to be able to help home builders. I'm in a new home community every week, and just it's the thrill of my life. And so that's what I do, and it's a little bit about who I am. Rebecca and I raised three beautiful daughters, Our oldest daughter had our granddaughter, had her daughter about a year and a half ago, and our youngest daughter is expecting in June. They're all three in the home building industry, and Rebecca and I then have two cats, and so almost 33 years of marriage, and just completely in love with each other. And so that's a little bit about me and Kimberly. Again, with all the sincerity I can muster, I'm honored to be here today and to be able to spend some time with you. You are one of my favorite people in the world, and you mean a lot to me. And so thank you. It meant a lot to me when you asked me to do this today.
I'm so glad we could finally, make the schedule work out. So these things we plan them so far in advance, and it's like, wait, now we're a year out on these things. But and let's just go ahead. Let's get our IBS stuff out of the way, and we're not
Okay.
talking about what an awful acronym, isn't it?
Yes, I have
So
irritable bowel syndrome. My name is David. Yeah, we jokingly refer to this as the stomach issue convention.
right. Well, we usually walk away from it with stomach issues. So
Oversharing. Yes. So, hey, everybody, again, honored to be here with you today. And my, my goal is, my desire is that you would take some things today that can help you today in your business today. I will be at the International Builder Show. I'm honored to be a speaker there this year. First time. So, Kimberly, this is my third year in a row that I've been honored to speak. This is the first year that I will be in two different building knowledge sessions. So on Tuesday, so if you're at IBS, I'll be there on Tuesday, sharing the 9 rules of customer experience to set yourself apart. I think what we're going to talk about is the great brand differentiator, how to really set yourself apart from the competition. And then so that's on Tuesday, and I'm honored to present that solo. So I'm scared to death. And then on Wednesday,
got
I'll be
this.
with my friend Meredith Chapman. We'll be talking about why customer culture affects company culture, and how to have the best of both. And I've had a lot of people ask me, like, what's customer culture? And you'll just have to come to the International Builder Show to find out. So that's Wednesday. Both of those sessions are 10:15, one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday.
Great time slots. So good for you. Congratulations on that. So buildershow.com is where you can go, and you can search by our names in the little search that pops up. So that'll help you to
Yep.
find us.
Yep.
So I'm fortunate again this year. I don't even know how many years I've kind of lost track of it, but to speak again. So I kicked my first presentation off on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be a busy day for me, and I'm fortunate to have Leah Fellows with Blue Gypsy, my friend, and my
Yep.
new friend Naomi Wright Bellamy with me. And Naomi is works as a marketer for a builder. And so we're going to be talking about this whole post-NAR settlement and how to build your realtor VIPs and still comply with all the laws. Things have changed. Builders are trying to do this, business as usual, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity for builders in this. So we're going to be hitting that up. And then, of course, the coup d'etat, the sales rally. And I am honored for the very first time to be the moderator of the sales rally this year. And look at this talent. I'm a bit
Yeah.
intimidated by this talent. So I have Anya Chrysanthemum, John Palumbo, Keith McKinney, and Corey Charles. And so containing all of that energy, we're mixing it up. We're doing it differently. It is not your grandmother's sales rally. So it is audience participation. We're going to have some fun. We're putting the rally back in the rally. So who's going? Fire up the chat. Let me know if I can
Yeah.
expect to see you at the International Builder Show. Reach out to either of us. I'm sure in the 5 minutes of free time that we have there, we'll have some meetings in between. So let
Yeah.
us know
Yeah.
if you're nobody, none of you are coming to the
No
Builder
one,
Show. I don't
go
see anybody in the
register.
chat. Like, come
Go
on, peeps. I know
register
some of you
now.
are coming to the Builder Show.
Yes, I know some of you. I think there's at least one of you that's speaking at the Builder Show. So yeah, we want to hear. Yes, say.
Yeah, so we know there's more of you there. All right, I've turned off the screen. We are done with all that. So we're gonna keep things cranking along here. So
Let's
our
do it.
conversation today is, are you curious enough?
Mm.
So what does conversational curiosity look like IRL in real life?
I
What does
love
that mean to you, David? Go ahead and kick us off with that.
I love the IRL. Like I feel younger, Kimberly, just that we're like, I don't know if we're making up our own like abbreviations or if these are what the
Yeah,
young
no, this is what I'm told this is what the kids say. So, I'm too old to know that for sure, but
like
I'm told
Pete's
this is what they
Cubs.
say.
I love it. So IRL in real life, what does conversational so conversational curiosity, I think, is exactly what we're doing. I love when you asked me to do this. You said, David, I don't want to interview you. I want us to have a chat. I want us to have a conversation, just like you and I do when we talk. We're friends and we have conversations. And I think in sales, we get so, salesy is an adjective. And I think
Sure.
that, that whole commission breath thing where we put on the, boy, have I got a deal for you kind of thing. The opposite of conversational curiosity is when being transactional, and it's where it's being technical. It's how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, that stuff I think is that's not what today's buyer is looking for. I know there's some people who are convinced that people buy homes today the same way they did 50 years ago. Kimberly, I think that's true to some degree, but come on, things have changed so much for.
I don't think it's true. I really don't.
Yeah, yeah, they've checked. Buyers have checked. We've changed the way I mean, my gosh, you
Yeah.
go on the app and order your groceries, and in an hour they ring your doorbell, and or even your Ring doorbell picks them up before they get to your doorbell. Like we everything we do as consumers has changed, and I think it's true in home building. And I think buyers are looking in a way for an experience, and so conversational curiosity means one conversational. It's not pitchy. It's not speed. I have a sales spiel. It's understanding that I need to use emotional intelligence coupled with technical intelligence. And then of course curiosity is just why. I say it like this, that more important than the questions that we ask our buyers are the questions that we ask ourselves about our buyers. More important than the questions we ask our buyers are the questions that we ask ourselves about our buyers. Why are they here? What is
And
it?
why don't we communicate that? Like
Yeah, why don't we?
trans be fully transparent. Sales is not something you do to people.
Yeah,
It's something we
wow.
do with them. So let me
Yeah,
uncomplicate this for you.
yeah.
I'm gonna get that word in there. You
Thank
know, get real with people. Like that, we're so isolated. We're so on our phones, right? We're so social media, but that face to face, that true tete a tete, that one on one
yeah,
is becoming a dying art, and it's hurting our society, it's
yeah,
hurting our kids,
yeah.
but it's hurting our ability to build a relationship with the people who
Incredible.
are right in front of us
It's
for the
incredible.
most part.
It's
And this
incredible.
is it's a David and I were talking about this pre-show, right? It's high touch, people. Like there's no way around it.
Right.
People don't buy your builders. I'm sorry, but people don't buy your homes because they're so great.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love our friends. I do love the opportunity to do self touring and have different options for people. But at the end of the day, these buyers want somebody to help them through this. And the
Absolutely.
only way that you're going to help them through it is to get to know them as people.
Right. Yeah. And the only way they're going to buy from you is if they get to know you as a person. It's just so important. We're looking in so many different directions, both as individual new home sales professionals and as builders, as building companies, as divisions. We're looking for the brand differentiator, and to kind of throw back to the thing at IBS. What I want to say and what I want people to understand, and so many people get this. Like I don't want to presume that some on the call, maybe everybody on the call gets this, and let this be a good reminder if you do. But if not, then hear this. Yes, you're going to have different floor plans, and you're going to have a different land position, and your reputation and your name and your included features and all those things, your price points, all those things are brand differentiators. But the greatest brand differentiator, the only one that has any kind of staying power, is your customer experience. Because somebody can, you may be the cheapest builder in town until brand X gets there,
The
You may
race to
have
the
the best,
bottom. Yeah,
yeah, or right, or you have the best land position in town until you sell out of that community, or you've got the greatest reputation until those two or three buyers, that are just completely unhappy hit your social media all at the same time. The one brand differentiator that will stay consistent regardless of the market, regardless of what happens, is your customer experience, is the way your customers are treated. And it is all about being face to face with them. It is all about, I call it single tasking, instead of trying to be on the phone and, oh my gosh, the builder is calling, let me go get that phone. And, when we just concentrate on them, and sometimes they leave our sales center and they say, man, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was about Kimberly, but there's something different about her. That's the greatest brand differentiator. I don't need them to know what it was, but what it was is I put my phone in the drawer. When it rang, I told the customer, no, I don't need to get that. You're my highest priority right now. And it's having that conversation and being curious. Why are they buying? Why are they here?
absolutely. One time I went to an interview, I was interviewing with a large national builder, and they sent me up the chain. I was interviewing for a leadership position, and they sent me up the chain to the regional president to interview. And this is like interview number 5 or something. So I go into this guy's office, and he had a photo sitting behind the desk on his credenza of him and his son. And they had been deep sea fishing and caught a sailfish. So I was like, wow, that's really a cool picture. Who's in the photo with you? And he says, that's my son. And he started talking for a solid hour. I kid you not. I sat there and I made sympathy noises and went, what? Wow, that's cool. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. The man did not ask me one question about myself.
Wow.
He talked for an hour. He talked about the industry, told me all about the company, but a lot about that day, that experience, how great it was, why it meant so much to him to get to spend that time with his child. So I leave, after this interview, and I'm in my car, and I get a call from the division president that would have been my immediate superior, and he says, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I
Oh
don't know
gosh.
what, what,
Oh,
what,
what?
what?"
What?
did you do?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I just got a call," and he goes, "That was the best interview that this
Wow.
guy's." He said that you were the most amazing human being. And I'm like,
Wow.
Bill, I kid you not. I literally sat there for an hour nodding my head. I
Listen,
didn't say
you listen.
anything,
Yeah.
you know, and it was because I got him started. It was people
Yeah.
want to talk about themselves. My point of this is people want to talk about themselves. So if you get people talking about themselves, it is amazing what they will tell you. But here's
It's
what happens IRL, right? In real
yeah.
life,
Yeah.
is that we go into a model center and it becomes a very predictable formula. So they come, hey, how are you? Is this your first time in? Well,
Right.
and then maybe they get them in the kitchen. Maybe they're like, oh, well, my boss requires me to fill out this registration. So can you go ahead and fill this out either on the iPad, or some people
Yeah.
are still using paper, right? So, and so they're trying to do all this stuff. And then, oh, so how many bedrooms and how many square feet are you looking for? Who cares? Unless you are Alice in Wonderland, you are going down that proverbial rabbit hole,
Right.
and it might be a fun adventure when you get there, but
Right.
it's not going to take you where you need to go.
Right.
We
That's right.
got to you got to make a connection. If they've got kids, I'm down. You saw me with your grandbaby. I'm like, Mickey Mouse. I
Let's,
love Mickey
yeah,
Mouse.
let's talk. That's all right. Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm talking in my high squeaky voice that I only use for children and pets. And I'm down low. I'm like on that level. I'm like, thank you for bringing your parents out today. Okay, yes, that's cheesy. I
It's
get it. But the
right.
kids have never heard it before and they think it's really funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's amazing, Kimberly, so we're sales professionals. We're professionals. And so we've got to impress them. We've got to bowl them over, shock and awe with what we know about the product. First of
Yeah,
all,
they
it's
don't
not,
care.
yeah, and they're not there to buy a house, and this is not meant to be cliche. Hope it doesn't come off as cliche. I mean it with all sincerity. They're not there to buy a house. They're there to buy their next home. One of the first things I learned about marketing is nobody buys a mattress. wait, what? The mattress stores are on every corner. Nobody buys a mattress. They buy a good night's sleep. They're
Yeah.
not buying a mattress. They're buying a good night's sleep. But you don't even see the mattress. You cover it up with linens and you never even see it except, when you change the sheets, whatever. We're not, our buyers are not buying a house. They're not buying 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2,700 square feet. And for the love of all that is good and holy, don't call your homes products. Well, what product are you looking for?
Yes.
Then it's not a product. You just
It's not
minimize
even a house. It's a home. I don't care if it's 40 feet and 40 stories in the air. It's still a home.
the home, and it's the place that it's the place. It will be the most important place to them for as long as they live there. And then something you said that's so important, and neurologists have proven that it's not that just that, and I agree, it's not just that people like to talk about themselves. Neurologists have found that our brain releases the feel good stuff, dopamine, and our brains
Your
release
endorphins, sure.
endorphins when we talk about ourselves. And some people, that's true for everybody, but some people also get the bad stuff, like the brain will release like the bad feel good stuff, the feel bad stuff when other people talk about themselves. So everybody feels good when they talk about themselves. The brain is rewarding them, even the most introverted among us who may say, "Oh, I don't want to talk." So why not let them talk about themselves? And then this, Kimberly, you and I were talking about, understanding, you said it, high tech and high touch. Some of the things that we need to do are just old school. I love taking notes. I'm doing it right now. I have an iPad with a note app. I take notes on my Apple Watch or my iPhone, but I love taking notes on a legal pad. And I'll always ask the customer when I started in on-site sales in new homes, I don't know, 15 years ago, but I would always ask, hey, if my dad taught me as a kid to make eye contact when you're talking to people. I would love to take notes because I value your time and I want to make the most of your time today. And I'd love to take notes, but that's going to mean there'll be times I'm not making eye contact while you're talking to me. Are you okay with me taking notes? I've never had anybody tell me no. Since I've been training agents, I've never had anybody say that.
Never had anybody say no. Take
And here's
notes. Yeah. And
two.
what they feel is heard when you
That's
take
it.
notes.
That's it.
They
Two things.
feel
Yes,
heard.
that's right. So what you do when you talk about differentiating yourself from the competition, one, you heard them. How many times have the buyer doesn't buy that day, so we set up an appointment, they walk out, and then we read something that we didn't even remember them saying. Oh, she's a 26-year retiree of the Air Force. We didn't even talk about VA. I don't even remember her saying that. And if I hadn't written it down, it'd been gone. But I wrote
Hmm.
it down. So number one, I get to hear the things they're telling me, the whys. But more importantly, I'm communicating to them that I'm listening. When I'm taking,
Yes.
and I can tell you, people speak differently when they know they're being recorded. You're recording them not in a way to play gotcha or to you catch you, but you're recording them. You're writing things down, and so they're telling you, and they kind of even will look over your legal pad, and so yeah, it's that
Yeah, you
curiosity.
want to make sure you got it right. It's
Did
not a
you?
gotcha. It's did you hear what I'm saying? Because
Yes,
there's noise. One of the things about communication is we say stuff, but the receiver has to receive it.
right. That's right.
And there's a lot of space in between giving and receiving
That's
that
right.
can get a little muddy and murky. And so it's important to not only say things, but then follow it up with a question to
Yeah.
ensure that we're
Right.
both on that same
That's right.
page.
That's right. It's
Isn't
not.
that right, David?
Yeah, did you? Yeah, it's yeah, and it's so important because it's not because what we say and what we communicate are often not the same thing. I mean, how many times have we said, "Man, I told that buyer today was the last day of the sale. I'm not sure why they're moving forward. I told them that was the last move-in ready
Hmm.
home I have that can close in February, or that's the last cul-de-sac." Not sure because it's not about what we say; it's about what we communicate. And oftentimes, though we said it, we didn't communicate. So yeah, that and conversational is a dialogue, Kimberly, and you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. That conversational curiosity is not a monologue. Oftentimes, as salespeople, we give a monologue where we're the only one talking.
Nobody hears it. It's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and you can't listen. My third grade teacher told me. So I told you I turned 53 yesterday. I don't. How old are you in the third grade? Like 9. So a long time ago, I still remember this lesson. She was talking to us, Miss Stiles was talking to us about listening. and she described an anagram. Although I don't remember using the word anagram, she said to the class, if you take all the letters that spell listen, Listen, and rearrange them, you can spell the word silent without any letters left over. And she said, so, and I remember this. She said, so let that be a lesson. If you're really going to listen to people, you got to shut up. It's the way she said it. And so from 9 years old to 53, I still not don't do it all the time, but so that's
But it
being,
stuck with you. But
yeah,
I'll go one further. Not only do you have to shut up, so yes, absolutely, because you need to be able to receive, but you have to shut up in your head and be there. Because if you're just listening to respond,
yes, yes, yeah,
you have to do, I mean, this tete-a-tete, this back and forth, like this is a natural conversation.
right.
Not, you're, oh, well, great. So 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Well, blah, 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 blah.
Let's
And then we
go,
just start spewing. That's
which is what we
not
do.
natural.
That's not natural, but that's what we do. We're waiting
It
for
is what we
somebody
do.
to tell us 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,400 square feet. And then we go start showing 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,400. And I want to just say, if you're listening to this today, probably since I'm the guest, probably not going to be anything that's rocket science, probably not going to blow you away.
Oh, stop.
No, 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 because I mean, really, in all sincerity, none of this is rocket science, right?
It's not.
This is, but this will, I tell people, this will double your income. If you're in new home sales, in real estate, these things, it's like pearls. Like you take one pearl by itself, it's insignificant. You take jeweler's twine and put one pearl on and another pearl and another pearl and another and another and another, and pretty soon you've got something that's beautiful, that's heirloom. You pass it down to your daughter, and she gives it to her daughter. These things in and of themselves, like, oh, sure, of course, I got to listen to my buyer. Oh, I've got to take notes. I've got to be curious. Those things in and of themselves, like a pearl, like a single pearl, they don't seem, they're seemingly insignificant. But when you string one thing on after another, so I'm single tasking. You're the most important person in my universe today. I'm taking notes. I'm uh, involving you in conversation. I'm being curious. I want to know the whys, not just the whats. Those pearls, one after another, become valuable. And I just think it is the difference in being good in sales and being great in sales.
Absolutely. And where you do it also matters. So I would be reminiscent if I didn't say that, because if you're standing in the garage sales center in your model home, no, this is not the place to make people comfortable to have a
In the
conversation.
garage, right,
Right? Yeah. So
right.
get them into the heart of the home, get them into a kitchen, offer them a beverage. I've said this so many times, and go through the front door,
Oh my
because the
gosh.
company comes through the front door, not the garage through the laundry room
That's right.
or
That's
the
right.
mud room or the whatever you have there. No, you go, I don't care. Yes, I understand. Sometimes it rains. Yes. I mean, unless it's like, it's blowing sideways, then
Right.
then there is really no reason why you've got an umbrella. Go out and come around and come through the front door. Your homes are beautiful. They deserve to be showcased from outside. But
Yes.
at that point, we're not showcasing the home. We're simply walking and having a conversation. And I
Yeah.
will say this, when you walk with purpose, people will follow you every
Absolutely.
time. I mean, they may follow me because they're going, where's that crazy blonde chick going? But they do
Yeah.
follow me. I've never once had somebody not follow me when I'm like, great, I was just on my way to the kitchen to fill up my
Yeah.
coffee. Come on, let's go. Boom, I'm out the door. I don't
Yeah.
introduce myself. I don't shake hands. I've made some sort of little comment to make them feel welcome, thank them for coming out, and then boom, we're in that kitchen. Because the kitchen,
I
all of
love it.
us have our islands now, right? Because what's a
That's
kitchen
right.
without an island today,
That's
right?
right. Right.
And that island gives people that space, because pre-COVID, we had to be 3 to 3.5 feet apart. Otherwise, you were a close talker, for those of you of my generation. So you know what a close talker is. But that's uncomfortable. But now post-COVID, right? It's supposed to be 6 feet. The problem is
Yeah.
none of us know what 6 feet is. So it really ultimately works out to be about 4.5. So kind of
Right.
split the
Right.
difference.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but you'll notice that space gets remarkably closer when you're making a connection.
That's right.
So this isn't just about verbal curiosity. It's also about the body language and the curiosity as you see people let down their guard and get real
Absolutely.
with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And being strategic, I love the kitchen because I can stash legal pads in the kitchen drawer. And if I have to
Absolutely.
go through the front door without something to write on, I can open that drawer. And there's something about putting a kitchen island between you and a customer that really brings down the wall.
Oh, it
And
just makes them comfortable.
right. Yeah.
And the
So that,
solid surface countertops, like I
yeah.
put my hands, there's some neurolinguistic stuff that goes on here too. Put your hands on the countertop. You're transparent when your hands are showing. Don't stand around with your hands in your pocket or put them behind your
Right.
back or
Right.
crossed
Yeah.
armed. Like put your hands on the counter. Pretty
Love
soon,
it.
they'll have their hands on the counter. They'll lean forward.
Right.
And now we're making that kind of connection. I
Love
was
it.
in a role play not long ago up in Rochester. I see we've got some Rochester peeps on here. So I was up in Rochester, and the gentleman that I was role playing with, we did this. We went out, we came in, and they were like, "Well, how do you do it, Kimberly?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'll show you." And so we're talking. This guy, I didn't know him. He was a newer person. I hadn't had any coaching sessions with him previously, and so we start talking. We find out we have a connection of Tarpon Springs, Florida.
Oh, wow.
So, which is the largest Greek settlement in the United States. And so, oh my gosh, the food. Oh, don't even get me started on how amazing the food is. So, it's a really cool place. So, anyway, we make this connection and we're like having a moment. And everybody, there's like 12 people standing around looking at us going, what just happened? Like that's so genuine. And I'm like, because
Yeah.
we had a real moment. It was real.
Incredible. Yeah.
Nobody was role playing. Nobody was, it was like we just
Yeah.
had this real moment.
Fun. Yeah.
If you're not having those real moments, then my guess is you're probably like 99% of the sales professionals out there, and
Right.
you're going straight to product within 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And you're losing. I mean, obviously, the best salespeople in the world lose more sales than they win. Nobody has a 100% conversion rate.
Absolutely.
Nobody
Yeah.
has a 50% conversion rate. But if you're going straight to quote unquote product and you're calling it a product, you're losing a lot more, 10 to 1, 20 to 1. I use this thing, and there, I always share that, my process is not an invention of anything. It's 20 years of observation of salespeople who do it right. And so, I've watched salespeople do it right. And you always ask this, so every builder, you can relate to this, I'm sure, and every team can relate. Like every home builder has like that one salesperson or the two or three salespeople that are just superstars. And most of us didn't get sales training. They don't teach this in college,
No,
unfortunately.
here's the keys, Mackey. Go sell something.
Right, right. How many did you sell yesterday? It was my
Yeah.
first day. But so you ask the superstar, like, how do you do it? And they either kind of shrug their shoulders because they don't know, or they're coy. Well, so I figured, okay, I've over the years have learned from these people that do it right. I want to capture this lightning in a bottle. And so that's what I did with Sales Uncomplicated. I call it the uncomplicated method. It's just four things. Boom, 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 boom. But what I suggest, Kimberly, is the first thing we have to do as salespeople is not find out what the buyer's looking for. In fact, the first thing is not even to find out why. The first thing is what I call gaining the position of trust. And because we build rapport, and then we don't know, when do you stop building rapport. Some of you've got buyers on their eighth visit, but you're building rapport. They like you, but newsflash, they're probably not going to buy from you. And so the position of trust, I needed something that was like tangible. Like what does it mean to build rapport? And so I call it the position of trust. And the position of trust, this is the definition, is that place where the buyer has confidence in my integrity and my ability, and therefore feels comfortable to communicate openly with me about what they're trying to do. The position of trust, that place where the customer has confidence in my integrity and my ability, and therefore feels comfortable to communicate with me openly about what they're trying to do. So that's my first thing. In the first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, I'm really working to get their trust, not their just, we don't know what that means, their trust. It's ethereal. Like, do I get them to trust me enough that they, make me the beneficiary of their life insurance policy? They tell me they're, they're
Probably
code.
a line before that part.
Yeah, maybe, right? But so it's
Yeah.
just, I just need them to trust me enough to, when I move into discovery, that they'll tell me why, what, and why. And so, I love this, when you ask me about curiosity, it's just, you already know everything that you know when that buyer's walking up the driveway. And if we do all the talking, we're going to leave that interaction not having learned anything because we already know what we know. If we'll zip it and let them talk, we're going to find out what and why, and we're going to be in a much better position.
2 ears, one mouth, the good Lord gave you, so use them accordingly, is what I've always said. So, if
Listen,
you find that you're the one doing all the talking, then that
yeah,
means you're not asking enough questions and you're certainly not giving them the
um,
time and the space to talk.
yeah,
Now, what I often get, so, what holds salespeople back from doing this is lack of practice. They don't know how. And so they draw a blank and they get this deer in the headlights because, again, particularly our younger sales professionals, these
right,
people, when you think about the life of our younger sales professionals, they've lived a whole world full of stuff in a very short amount of time, and a lot of it was in a bubble.
yeah, yes,
Screens and computers and social media, and then a pandemic
yeah,
and remote learning, and they haven't been put in the face-to-face scenarios.
right,
Raising my children, one of the best compliments I ever got about raising my kids is anywhere I took them where there were adults in a professional setting, if my kids were called upon, they would speak up, they would project, they were confident, they would shake people's hands, and people would say, "Wow, how old is your child? That's amazing." And it's something that we didn't teach as a
right.
general rule this generation
That's
to
right,
know how to do. So we
right.
have to go back.
Yes,
Sales leaders, don't assume that they know how to do this. And
right.
I'm gonna say the word. This hyphenated word that we all cringe. Role play.
Oh gosh, you said it.
I know.
Yeah, that's
And you
right.
know what? The sales leaders are going, well, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to do. So if you're uncomfortable, you're making
I'm
your
much
sales
more.
professionals
Right,
uncomfortable, and you're not helping them to grow. And guess
right.
what? Growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
That's right. Yeah, and if
If
you're
you are
uncomfortable,
comfortable, you are not growing.
with your presentation, what do you think your customers feel like? I mean,
Yeah.
Kimberly, you said something I love, and I love this conversation. I hadn't even thought about this, but I say this sometimes, and maybe it makes sense. In talking about, sales agents who are younger, but also customers who are younger, social media plus social distancing has created a lot of social anxiety.
It absolutely has.
They, they,
Understandably so.
they raised with social. I remember taking my daughter to a party when she was about 15 or 16. It was a church party, so no crazy party. But sometimes those church parties are crazier than you.
I grew up, yeah, with some pretty wild church parties
Yeah,
and lock-ins.
yeah. But I walked in and was going to go speak to the parents that were hosting. I was going to go speak to them, and there's 5 or 6 boys, 15, 16 years old, in one corner. And across the room, there's 5 or 6 girls in another corner, and they're both surrounded by a phone. One's texting over here and one's texting over there. And I walked over to the boys, and I'm like, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Like, go, what are you doing?" And Kimberly, they were texting. This group of boys were texting the group of girls,
Texting, yeah.
and so that's who we're selling homes to. And so, first of all, as salespeople, if you're going to do this, and it's the greatest industry in the world, if you're going to do this, you got to break through that social anxiety that you have, perhaps, and then understand when buyers come in, there's some angst. Salespeople are the most untrusted people in the country. Like, if you ask people about salespeople, they'll tell you, like, oh, they're untrusty, salespeople. I ask salespeople. I'll set my folks up when I'm in training. I'll say, hey, we're going to play a word game. I say sales, and I heard Jeff Shore do this 20 years ago, and it was so true then, so true now. I'm going to play a word association game. I'm going to say a word. You tell me the first thing that comes to mind, and then I'll say salesperson, and you'll hear things like, greedy, sleazy. Sometimes somebody will say professional, but even salespeople we have a negative,
We have a negative
outlook.
connotation
Yes,
because we've been programmed to think sales is something you do to people, not with them.
not for them. And so, the big takeaway for me, it was that our buy if professional salespeople feel that way, then our buyers feel that way. And so they come in with this high level of skepticism. They're afraid we're going to do something to them. They're afraid we're going to cheat them out of something or pressure them into doing something they don't want to do. And so when we just jump right into the technical stuff and don't use curiosity, we're setting ourselves up for failure. And I'll just say this. I told a group this last week in training, and I've said it 100 times. If I could give a new home sales team one thing of all the things that I think we need, if I could give a new home sales agent one thing, it would be curiosity.
Oh, yes,
One thing,
totally,
curiosity.
100%.
If
Because
you're curious,
curious salespeople make the best salespeople. So
that's right.
we've got some people who are, and I don't know why all of a sudden I can't scroll down in the chat here, but
Well, I'm curious
um,
why you can't do that.
I don't know. I'm curious too. So, but if you struggle with icebreaker questions, just there is a free download on my website of the best discovery questions to ask.
Wonderful.
You're welcome to it's newhomesolutions.com. Just you can go, it'll just pop up. You just put your stuff in there and you'll get it right away. So no, you're not buying anything. It's not, it's just a free giveaway because this is a
That's,
problem. People don't
yeah,
know what to ask.
right.
So that'll give you some of those ideas. But just start with some basics like, hey, where are you folks from?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
learning where somebody is from, you're learning a lot about them. Like you're learning, they'll tell you, and they'll tell you that they will also tell you how much they know about the area. Are they
yeah,
new to the area? Are they from, maybe they're from the other side of the country and they're relocating. Like you're going to
right,
get, these are good open icebreakers, as
yep,
to get the ball rolling.
right,
And then if you listen, like David was talking about, we're listening to not to respond, but to actually hear and be in the
yeah,
moment,
right.
then you will find something. So until you make that connection with people, you're not there and you shouldn't be talking about product.
That's right.
Just
Yeah,
you should not. I don't
yeah,
care if they tell you that they're looking for, the 322. Perfect example. This is a story, and many of you have probably heard me tell this story because it is the most extreme story that I have about this particular topic. But one day I'm training in a model center, and this husband and wife come in, and the gentleman is looking for just right up front. Hey, the reason I'm here, I was on your website and I saw that you had a tandem 2-car garage, and I have a Harley Davidson. So I am looking for that tandem 2-car garage. So I have a place to tinker with the Harley Davidson there. So, so now what I know about Harley Davidsons, I've been to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so I know they came from there. So I do know just because I've been there. That's how I know that. I've been spent a lot of time out west, so I know that in the summer there is a place that they do Sturgis.
yes,
I don't know when it is. I just know it's some at some point in the summer a bunch of people on Harleys get together or motorcycles get together. I also believe, because I've never been to Daytona where it didn't seem like Bike Week. I know there's an actual Bike Week. I have no idea when it is, but it always seems like Bike Week in Daytona, Florida.
right,
Right. So I know that, and I know that Harley Davidsons have a very distinctive sound. We can all identify one when we hear it. It's a very distinctive sound. And
right.
I believe that more chrome is better because there's always a lot of chrome on a Harley. These are all just assumptions that I've made but
I
beyond
love it.
that, I'm tapped out about talking about Harley Davidsons. My point of this is you don't have to be an expert on the subject matter to talk to somebody.
That's right.
So this guy goes on and on and on, and he's telling me all about his weekend club and that our community was closer to where they always meet and ride. And there were some really cool roads that they like to ride that had actually, I live in Florida, it's very flat here, but there are some roads with some topography and they tend to be a little more toward the center of the state. So you can have that up and down in the curve and, that sort of thing. So some really fun rides for these people. And his wife is just standing here for this whole conversation, arms crossed, leaning back, like she's just not into it at all. My trainee is kicking me like, we only have one home, Kimberly, that's a tandem. I don't know if you know this, but we only have one floor plan that's going to work. And I'm like, and so I continued with the conversation. As soon as the gentleman gave a pause in the conversation, I turned to his wife and I said, "Do you ride Harleys too?" Well, that got her talking. And she's like, "No, I do not. And I wish he wouldn't. They scare me to death. And I want
Oh,
no part
wow.
of this, but this is his passion." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, got it." So Kevin's given us more. So there's more bike weeks, apparently. Arizona has one. Uh, sorry, I digress. So the lady says, she tells me that she loves her home. She just spent all this money remodeling and getting her garden exactly like she likes it.
Wow.
And she doesn't want to move.
Wow.
So, we were going, no, we could have shown this home all day long. We only had
Right.
one solution that fit what
She
this
wasn't
guy is
moving.
telling us he
Yeah.
wants,
Right.
but there's no solution for her.
Right.
So I encouraged her and I said, "Well, oh, that sounds amazing. So, what are you growing in your garden?" Talk about garden. It was a passion. It's important. She brought it up
Yep.
for a reason.
Yep.
So we have that conversation. I said, "And you said you've done some remodeling. Tell me about that." Because if you're like most people, you have this ongoing list of things you want in your home. So she does. And then she tells me what she's not able to do in her current home. The most important of which was she doesn't have a private backyard.
Wow.
She can't fix a private backyard where she is.
Right.
She's not going to magically make that appear.
Right.
Now I have some information and she's told me what she likes, what she doesn't like. And I'm like, well, we only have one floor plan that fits the criteria that you're talking about. We do happen to have it under construction. It's sold, but for another couple. But would you like to go take a look at it? And we can build you one. We can build you exactly what you want, but let's just take a look at it. And still, she's very skeptical. She's not a part of this whole program. We go out, he's thrilled about the tandem two-car garage, as we knew he would be, right? I mean, that was
Right.
his whole motivation, right? He didn't care if it was a tandem two-car garage and no bedrooms, no bath,
Right.
no, like
Right.
he did not care.
800 square
That's the
feet.
only thing that
Yeah.
mattered to him.
Right.
So, but we get in there and I'm talking to her and I'm like, "Let's go." I said, "Most importantly, let's go look at this backyard and let's talk about your garden." And so she is
Wow.
literally planting flowers in her mind and her raised herb garden and this private backyard. And she's like,
Wow.
"Wow, this is an amazing home site. I wish I had a home site like this." And
Wow.
I said, "Well, the good news is the next 10 home sites down have the same type of view. You're backing right up to this conservation. So no one can ever build behind you.
That's
Wouldn't
incredible.
that be
Yeah.
great if you
Yeah.
had that?" Yes, it would. She's in it. And then we go into the kitchen and she wanted to remodel her kitchen, was a little struggling. That was the one place she hadn't remodeled yet, was really struggling, wanted things a certain way. And she loved the layout of that kitchen. She's like,
Wow.
"Oh, for my cooking, then I could, this got this great island for my baking and blah, blah." And so this woman who was not moving went from not moving to, "Wow, I can really see myself here and this solves problems I didn't even realize I had."
Right.
It took me 45 minutes of ice-breaking discovery. 45. Some of you are just freaking out right now and your mind
Yeah.
is blown
Yep.
that it took 45. We were going nowhere fast if I just showed the product.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's curiosity. Yeah. It's asking the right questions. And, um, you know, I love that. That's so incredible. And it's the example of, how to do things right. That manifests itself differently, right? With every single buyer, but it really is about understanding, I think, first of all, that it's not about what I say. What the buyer says is more important than what I say. And the questions the buyer asks are more important than the questions I ask. And so
Yes.
how do I get the buyer to a point where they're talking? There was, somebody asked me, how do you know when you've been curious enough? And I think it's when you know why they're doing what they're doing, when you know why, what's their motivation. I love that, what's the icebreaker? I think sometimes knowing what not to do is as good as knowing what to do. What not to do is, don't ask what brings you here today, because you're going to have a Kevin in the group. I love you, Kevin. That's going to say something like,
Your
my
car, your Harley.
car brought me here. May I help you? There's we all know this, right? This is like home sales 98, remedial new home sales. Don't, because when you say, may I help you, our learned response is, no, I just want to look. Kimberly, I used to use, and it just worked for me. When somebody walked in the door, first thing I would ask is, well, I'd say, hey, I'm David. Welcome to, Green Acres, whatever. How long you been looking for a home? And to your point, it's all
Love
about,
that question. Yeah.
because now they weren't expecting that question. If they've been to two or three other builders, they likely didn't get that question. And so now you caught them off guard for a second, and they're likely going to tell you how long they've been looking for a home. And then from there, it's just about, I call it single tasking. I said that earlier. It's, focusing on them and nothing else. And we think we're great multitaskers. We're kind of I like to pick on the different, my girls are, 31 to 26, 25. And I love to pick on them. We were talking last night about the different generations that they're in. And, I love to pick at them about generations. But, one thing about the 20 and 30-year-olds, they were raised multitasking, right? They're binging their Netflix show on the TV while they're on their Zoom call.
Oh, they're on their phone. Oh yeah, I'm guilty. Yeah.
Yep. And while they're texting their best friend, while they're, getting a notification on their watch. And, what science tells us, again, neurologists have learned, studying the brain, that none of us are good at multitasking. Nobody is good at multitasking. Our brain does what's called switching, where we're switching back from this thing to that thing. None of us can do two things at one time. Doesn't matter how smart we are. Doesn't matter how great we think we are at it. And yes, there are times in our life where we have to multitask. We got to get dinner ready while we got to help one child with homework and one child take a bath, whatever. But not while the customer's in front of us. While the customer's in front of us, we ought to be single tasking and just concentrating on everything they say, because there's something about them being heard. There's something about the way they feel when they're heard and when they're allowed to talk. And we're taking notes, and we're concentrating on just getting them to that point where they're willing to tell us what they came out for today. And then we're off to the races.
And sometimes you do, so it doesn't always go according to plan. Like sometimes you're trying to talk to somebody and they are it's like talking to a fence post. They're not going to tell you anything. They've had a bad experience. Something has happened to them along the way. You're the salesperson, so you're evil, and I'm not talking to you. Those people exist. You will have them. I don't want to sugarcoat it. When I have people like that, and I've tried a couple of different approaches to break the ice, and I find out we're just here to look at the model. I just want a brochure. I'm like that. That one always fascinates me. I'm like, what do you need fire starter? Like,
yeah, what?
Why do you want a brochure? So when you get to that point with people, one of my favorite questions to ask is, I'm sure you came here with a purpose in mind. Would you mind sharing with me what that is?
Yep.
Because nobody just stops in. We're busy. Stuff is happening in life.
Right.
I don't believe it. You can tell me, oh no, I had these people, they are just tire kickers. They can't. No, there's some problem they're trying to fix. They just didn't feel comfortable enough to tell you what it was.
And here's the thing, they're curious.
They're curious, so you should be too.
Sometimes the only curiosity in the sales center is the buyer's curiosity. They're curious about what
Magda has dropped some brilliance on us. Where has
Magda
dropped brilliance? Magda always drops brilliance on us.
Love it.
So keep that chat going. I may not be able to keep up with all of it today for some reason. So but yes, so the great Matt, we get some brilliant minds on this thing. So I love it. Keep it going.
Yep.
To me, when I'm coaching a salesperson, so sales leaders, the way you can find out is you also have to be curious when you're talking to your sales team
Yep.
and ask them the questions that you know they need the answers to. Tell me about this buyer. Tell me their
Right.
story.
Right.
And it better be popcorn worthy. So we can go back to my conversation with Ryan Taff last year on Head to Head. Is the buyer story popcorn worthy? Yeah, it is. But only
Yeah.
if you get it. You got to get the whole story,
Right.
you
That's right.
know, and if your salesperson can't tell you their story, then they have not done that job where they've made that connection with that person. And I
That's right.
would encourage you as sales leaders to ask in your planned encounters each week, is it for the ones that are the hot prospects, those are the ones we tend to spend more time on. But what about those B's and those C's?
Yeah.
What did we find out about them? So our buddy Kevin Oakley this morning tweeted out. I don't know. Do we still call it tweeting? Is whatever you do on X?
Xing. I guess it's Xing now. He
Maybe
X.
we're Xing. Who knows? I don't know. See, I'm not cool enough to know that. I don't know that anybody knows that, but he posted out a story about a buddy of his who went to buy a home, was in love with this home, tried to get the salesperson to respond, and this went on for months. The home, meanwhile, the builder's lowering the price, they're raising the incentive, they're doing all the
Uh-huh.
stuff, and this person is literally trying to buy this home. The salesperson would not engage with them, and then so they finally went out and hired an outside realtor to come and help them engage. They hadn't even registered. So they went out and hired an outside realtor to help them engage. And the sales manager was overheard saying to the outside realtor, yeah, boy, this market is tougher than I thought it was. You know, we've had to reduce the price on this home. This cost that company so much money. And I was like
Yeah.
blown away when I read that today. It just hurt me to think you had a buyer, a ready, willing, able buyer who
Yeah.
wanted to buy your home,
Yeah.
and we can't be bothered. Like that's got to be such an outlier, right? Like this
Yeah.
is not who we are. But it just hurt, you know. So if you're, you know, we've got to help our salespeople. We've got to help them connect with people. That is literally their job. It's sales
That
is the byproduct of making those connections.
That's right. Yeah, the buyer's not going to buy from you until they buy you. And
Yeah.
it can't just be technical, these transactional these transactions are they should be interactions. When it's transactional, sure, the market sometimes is hot enough that you can get enough transactions to, 2020, 2021, but soon enough the market's going to shift and there won't be enough transactions to keep us in business. We got to
What do
have
you
it.
mean? So it's here. That
Yeah,
that
it's
time
here.
is here. That
It's
time is
here.
now.
Right.
And interest rates are not going to go down. Newsflash.
Yeah,
So
we won't
just
see free.
get real comfortable with where they are in 2025 because it looks like they're here to stay for a while.
That's right.
Well, we have reached the top of the hour. As you can see, David and I are quite passionate about this subject. We're curious. That's what we
Yeah,
are. We're curious.
that's right.
Reach out to either of us. If you have, if you've got a salesperson, you're trying to figure out how to help them, reach out to either of us. We're, it doesn't mean you have to hire us. It'd be great if you did, but I mean, I won't say that we don't take your business, right? But if it's a quick question, a one-off, hey, how can I help
Yeah,
you? Just reach
yeah,
out.
yeah.
So don't struggle with this. So thank you, Kevin. We love you too. We love
Yes.
Matt and we love
Oh,
all of you. We appreciate
yes.
you joining. Happy New Year. And I hope to see many of you at the show. Make sure you come up and see us in IRL in real life, right?
In
So we'll
real
be
life,
there live and
yes.
in person.
Yes, and I said earlier, Kimberly, when you and I were talking offline, it's not too late to get tickets for the Nationals. So
Oh,
got a
that's right.
lot of great
And
silver.
Dave is going to be doing those red carpet interviews. So
Oh my,
yeah, get
oh
your
my
tickets.
gosh. Yes, come see me. Come, yes, let me,
In
yeah,
his tuxedo. He's going to be all dressed up. So,
maybe.
all right, we will see you guys there. Have a great one. Go apply this knowledge and feel free to download that brochure or the handout.
Right.
And hopefully that'll help you with your sales team. All right, bye everybody. Thanks,
Thanks a
David.
lot.